Hello, good afternoon, Tracy. Today we are here with our co-host, Mr. Manjeet, and we have the privilege of having Mayor Robert Rickman, who is running for County Supervisor seat in San Joaquin County for District 5. So before we welcome Mayor Rickman, I will just introduce the co-host, Mr. Manjeet. So Manjeet is very well known in the city of Tracy, a small business owner living in city of Tracy for more than a decade, involved in many non-profit and volunteering activities whenever the citizens need. So now I'll request Mr. Manjeet to please share some more about him, and after that, welcome Mayor Rickman.
Thank you, Raj and Gurtej, for having me here. You are doing a great job. As mentioned, my name is Manjeet Singh, and I'm a small business owner in Tracy. I have been living with my family in Tracy last 12 years and also being involved in our community. Today, I have the honor to introduce my good friend, Tracy Mayor Robert Rickman. We know, we all know him. He's a third generation resident of San Joaquin County. He graduated from Tracy High, attended San Joaquin Delta College and Sacramento State University. Obtained a Bachelor of Science degree. Graduated from Humphrey School of Law with a Juris Doctor degree. Mayor Rickman served Tracy City Council from 2010 to 2016, serving as a Tracy mayor since 2016. For almost 2 decades, Mayor Rickman has been employed as a state police officer and sergeant. Mayor Rickman is very reachable and very much involved in our community. Now I request Mayor Rickman to share more about him. Thank you.
Well, thank you both, Mr. Atwell and Mr. Singh, and thank you, Sixth Tracy, for having me here. I've watched some of your programs that you've done so far. You guys done an excellent job informing the community, which is great. So thank you very much. I don't even know what else to say. You did a great job in introducing me, but you know my roots run deep here in San Joaquin County. Like you mentioned, I'm a third generation Tracy resident, and born and raised here. I graduated from Tracy High, Delta College, Sac State, Humphrey College in Stockton, where I earned my law degree. Yeah, and I'm also an active state police sergeant, which I've been doing for approximately 24 years. And right now I'm in the Tracy area, but I've worked in every city here in San Joaquin County. I love this community. I love San Joaquin County, and I can't think of a better place to raise a family. I have two daughters, and I know Raj, who's in the background there. Congratulations on his new addition. That I want to see grow up here, raise a family here, grow old here, as everybody does with their family. But I mean, I have a beautiful wife and two daughters that I love very much, and that's one of the reasons I got into politics, is to make this county better for not just my family, but for all families.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rickman, and thank you very much, Manjeet, for sharing about Mayor Rickman. So now I'll just add our Mr. Kabir Randhawa. So Mr. Kabir Randhawa is a small business owner in the city of Tracy for long. He is a great volunteer, great mentor.
I can't hear. I can't hear at all.
Oh,
Good thing you might have
right,
to drop
right.
Manjeet off.
Okay.
Thank you, Gurtej. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Robert Rickman and Kabir Randhawa, for joining us on this platform. We really appreciate your time that you're giving to our platform. Thank you for such a kind words, and thank you for congratulating me and my family. Thank you so much. And that being said, first of all, I want to apologize to all the audience that were waiting to hear. The show is supposed to start at 12, but we're having such a huge technical difficulty. We was trying to figure it out. And Mayor Rickman, he was so patiently worked with us to get this done, and he's still with us here. So let's just get started with the first topic of our show, and that is COVID-19. So Mayor Rickman, Right now, you're an elected official and you're running for a county supervisor's position. So, what are some of the challenges that you're hearing from the residents, and what are some of the solutions that you think that can benefit the residents in our county as an elected official?
Well, thank you very much for the question. And of course, COVID-19 has just devastated not just San Joaquin County, Tracy, but the world. And I don't think anybody would realize that this was going to happen. But we took a proactive approach. And when this pandemic first started, and there was very little information about it, and I remember sitting with public safety officials, our staff, and talking to county, I wasn't really worried until I started talking to the county and I realized that they didn't have hardly any information. For example, we were asking, in the Bay Area, they were doing stay at homes and shutting things down. And, I'm asking, hey, should we do that? And they're all, well, it's up to you guys. Well, how many cases do we have in Tracy? Well, we don't know. And so there was such a lack of information. And so what I did, and I made sure that, I directed our staff to call a special meeting. And that's one of the, powers that I have as a mayor, and so we can bring this before council and issue a directive to shelter in place. And we did that before any other city here in San Joaquin County, and we did it before the county itself. A few days later, the county came out with the stay-at-home order, and the state followed suit. But one thing I wanted to make sure, and then I reiterated to our staff, and I pushed very, very hard for, is to keep our residents informed, to prevent panic, to make sure people trust their government and trust what's going on. You have to keep them informed. So I made sure we did public service announcements, and that's myself getting on video and letting the public know whatever information we received, it would go immediately out to the public. And it was joined by our members of our police chief, our fire department, so on. And not just on video on channel 26, but we push social media also and let them know what's going on. I mean, for example, location of free testing sites that were in Tracy, Manteca, Lathrop, and Stockton, new and reduced restrictions from the state, and just general updates. Another thing, I did a lot of meetings with state, county, and federal officials. Another thing is, myself and several of the mayors wrote letters to the governor and county to let us have local control over our restrictions. I also met with state and county officials. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And, we are very different than, say, Los Angeles, what, we're going through. And, I believe we can open up businesses and do it safely while protecting our vulnerable population. So that's something that we push very hard for, me and myself and several other mayors. And, it worked. And we did, open up some of the industry ahead of time. Also work with, League of California Cities. It's an organization that, helped our cities, and, the cities come together as a whole in California. So we have more of a voice in Sacramento. And, to open things up, and also to make sure we're getting funding from the feds and states, and also connecting our residents with, organizations like the San Joaquin County WorkNet, which would help with the rapid response program to help those who were experiencing layoffs. We did Tracy utility bill payment assistance programs, helping those who need to help paying their water, sewage, and garbage, due to COVID-19. And then, and that was done through our CDBG, or Community Development Block Grant. And we also did a City of Tracy small business forgivable loan program for our businesses also. And then, the county jumped in, and the San Joaquin County, took part in a small business grant program. The City of Tracy, we waived certain permit fees and extended others. And also, the federal CARES Act funding. This CARES Act funding comes, of course, with the federal government, goes to the county, and it gets dispersed through the cities. And, I believe we received approximately $130 million, not the City of Tracy, but the county. and only a very small fraction of that went to the cities. And, I spoke to our county supervisors about that. I joined the other mayors and wrote a letter to our supervisors, indicating that, our cities need more. I mean, if you look at the COVID-19 response efforts, it's the cities who are leading the charge in the fact that we're enforcing the mandates, we're enforcing the restrictions, we're using our resources. And if you look at where the small businesses, which have been hit the hardest, are located, they're located in our cities. So we were asking for, more money, and, the county decided to hold on to like a reserve. And, we're hoping that we can still get some more money. But there's also federal programs, that we pushed out, like the U.S. Small Business Administration Paycheck Protection Program, U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, Save Small Business Grant. That's just an example. And also, the state has done, and San Joaquin County also, and issued the eviction moratoriums. But, of course, in the beginning, that was just for 90 days, even though, it does help those who rent. But you also have to look at those who own those rental units, for example. And not everybody who owns rental units are rich. I know a lot of people that have rental housing they use for their retirement, and that's their income that they receive. So we got to make sure that we take care of those individuals also. And, we need to do more. And we don't know when this COVID-19 is going to end, if it ever does end. I think we need to start open up the economy, and that will help a lot of our small businesses and get people back to work. And of course, like I said before, we can do that safely. And I want to thank you guys, this Sikhs of Tracy and the Sikhs of Humanity, Daba and Manjeet, passing out masks to our first responders. I know I joined you guys on that several times. And and with Manjeet passing out food to our seniors. And one thing I always say about Tracy, we are such a great community in the fact that, and it has shown during this time, is that when we have a time of crisis, a time of need, our community comes together. It always has, and it continues to do so. So as mayor, as a resident of Tracy, as a father, a husband, I'm just absolutely so proud of this community. I'm sorry, you're on mute, Raj. You're on mute.
I'm so sorry.
I thought you were messing with me for a second.
No, so thank you so much for highlighting on the COVID topic. Actually, I had some follow-up questions on that, but you actually did address a lot of them. So I'm actually going to have move the show to the next topic. I asked Kulveer to ask the next question to our candidate.
Hi, Robert.
Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing very good.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. You are doing very good for City of Tracy for transportation, and I can say personally, my family using those transportation is always perfect. What you do when you elected as a supervisor, county supervisor, what is our county transportation need will be, and how you address that county transportation? So,
well, thank you very much. That's a very important question, and transportation ranks up there. I mean, my God, if you live in Tracy, San Joaquin County, you see our roadways. But, San Joaquin County has become an outlet for Bay Area growth, and we have seen it in our population growth. Many of our residents commute to the Bay Area for employment, and it's adding to the congestion that we are seeing on our roadways, our county roads and our freeways. Now, I see it every single day when I work as a, state police sergeant. Commute starts at 3 a.m. and ends around, 7 p.m. at night. And that doesn't take into account if there's any, collisions on the freeway. Now, this affects your quality of life with your families, your health, and, the local economy. This is why it's so important to invest in our infrastructure to reduce traffic congestion and commute times. And it's something I work very hard as mayor. I currently sit on the San Joaquin Council Government Board and have been a chairperson. Last year was a chairperson. I'm also a member of the mega region, in which myself and pretty much a lot of elected officials in Northern California in the Bay Area, we meet and we come up with a plan and how our infrastructure can help the region, the mega region. And being a member of the Council of Government, what it is, it's a transportation planning, financing, coordinating agency for San Joaquin, the whole entire San Joaquin region. Now, during my time on that board, I have personally been involved in, advocated, and fought for transportation infrastructure projects at the local, state, and federal level, as well as funding for these projects. Now, many of these projects are either in the environmental design stage or in the funding phase. And, you know, some of these projects that I'll list is, well, this week, in fact, I was on a virtual conference call back to Washington, D.C. with both our Congressmen McNerney, Harder, and Camilla Harris, and talking about some of these projects. You know, one of them being the I-205, Interstate 205 expansion, and what we're going to do for that. Well, let me back up 1 second. It was scheduled to start next year, 2021, but when I was chairperson, I was able to push it back, or push it forward, I should say, to 2020, so we can start the environmental and so on. So we saved a year on that. So what will happen, it will add a lane in each direction, eastbound and westbound lane. So you have 6 lanes out there now, 3 lanes in each direction. They'll add a new lane on both sides, so that will help. The 120-99 interchange, that's another thing. That's the #1 priority project here in San Joaquin County. The 120 Union Road interchange, the 205 and 580 International Park of Commerce interchanges, the expansion of the International Park of Commerce, the roadway there, you know, to widen that, and both the bridges of the aqueduct and the Delta Modotta Canal. Valley Link light rail service is something, you know, when I became mayor, you know, I advocated for and we pushed. When I first got on with the San Joaquin County Council of Government, you know, believe it or not, there was little support for it. But after a year of pushing with our other council member, and we had a vote, and it was 11-1. So we have a majority of the elected officials and majority of the cities supporting this project, expanding the ACE train services, and of course, expanding public transit opportunities. One thing I did is when I first came on that board, they removed the Delta bus from Tracy to Delta into Mountain House. And that was something I was able to get back going. But what people don't think about is that when you look at transportation, it's like, for example, the Port of Stockton. The Port of Stockton is huge, you know, in the fact that if we can expand the shipping of cargo through the Port of Stockton, instead of having, you know, that cargo hauled by big rigs on our freeways and our roadways, I mean, that reduced the traffic congestion greatly. Same thing with the San Joaquin Metropolitan Airport. Expand our airport to a national hub and increase cargo flights. Again, that's less cargo that will be on our roadways. And also, and I'm sure I'll talk about this a little bit more, but continue to fight for a fair tax sharing agreement here with the county. And if you've watched the council meeting, or if you know me, seen me at all, one thing I've been advocating for years, and I have the support of every single mayor and more than likely council member here in San Joaquin County, is to fix this tax sharing agreement. Because what it is now, you know, when I was on council, I advocated a study by UP to see how bad our tax sharing agreement was. You know, what it is right now, once the state takes their chunk out of the way, there's 80%, or there's a little tiny pot left. And of that little tiny pot, 80% of that goes to the county and 20% goes to the cities. And it's the worst tax sharing agreement in the state of California. And that's something that we need to change. It needs to be fair, because the more tax that that we can have here in the city, the more we can do with our infrastructure, the more we can do with our economy. And the more that you can invest in your community, in turn, creates jobs, creates revenue, which would create revenue for the county. So it's something that I've continued to fight for, and we made some progress in it. I know what they're looking at now, like future projects, you know, they may change that tax agreement, but it's something that needs to be written in stone. It needs to be a fair agreement like the rest of the state. But all that together, so transportation is important, something I've been working on, and something as county supervisor will continue to push.
That'd be great, Mayor Rickman. We believe you. You will do it like you did the best job for Tracy. You will do the best job for Enfield County. Thank you for answering my question. You just absolutely give the correct information what we need, or maybe the people who are listening, they got the correct information from you too. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Raj, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. Now I would like to get into more on we talked about transportation, and now I want to move into a more public safety side. So you are a CHP officer as well, and overall you're been elected official for a long period of time. How do you see our cities and our counties' public safety issues or challenges that you're currently hearing and facing? Can you highlight us on that part?
Well, thank you. Looking at through a county lens, any government, the first priority of government is to keep our citizens safe. And that means, funding our police. You hear a lot of, this rhetoric about defunding the police. And, I think it's a bad idea. And, it's not something I would ever think of doing. But, for over 20 years, I've worked and currently work, as you said, as a state police sergeant, and worked in every city in San Joaquin County. And I have pretty much devoted my adult life to public safety. And there are areas that need to be addressed, immediately. One is homelessness. This is a humanitarian emergency for California. It's a cost of living, mental health, public health and safety, and substance abuse crisis. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more. And so we'll move on from there. But we have to work with our law enforcement leaders, our elected officials, and residents to make sure we reform horrible early release laws like Proposition 47 and AB 109. And we have to make sure that our San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department has the deputies to keep our community safe. As county supervisor, our police force, or who we oversee or fund, is our Sheriff's Department, right? And if you look at it now, currently, the staffing levels of our deputies patrolling our rural neighborhoods and roadways are not even close to being at full staffing levels. In fact, they're approximately half of what they should be. And this is not just an officer safety issue, but it's a community safety issue. And, we have a lot of rural areas here in San Joaquin County, and crime has gone up in, those rural areas. I mean, what you're seeing right now, you're seeing a lot more burglaries. You're seeing a lot more theft, theft be it of agriculture products, gas, of machinery, of homes out there in the county. And you look in South County, and it's something that has always bothered me because, again, I'm out there, so I see it, is that we have in South County, so Tracy, Mountain House, Rickman, Manteca, and Escalon, go down all the way down to Oakdale. We have sometimes at night 1 deputy for this whole entire area. So, they get a call and they're responding, say, from outskirts of Oakdale, other allied agencies, be it, local police department, they'll go and assist. But if your family lives out in the rural community and you need help, you want help, not 20, 30 minutes down the road, you want it now. And that's something that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be addressed immediately. It's just not fair for South County, and it's something that's gone on for too long. If you want to a great response time, if you want a good police force, in this case, a sheriff agency, you need to start funding them. For one, you need to start hiring folks, and you need to start paying folks. Because the salary of the deputies, the sheriff's department, is one of the lowest in the county. So what's happening is that they go get trained through their post credits and so on, and other agencies come up and grab them because they pay more. So you're always chasing, new recruits, and you don't get that experience. You don't get that training. So in the long run, it'll be beneficial, and it will cost the county less money. So that's probably in the public safety realm of it is the most important thing right now that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. So on the same note, when we talk about public safety, it's one on the law enforcement side, and the other side is the healthcare. So if we talk about the current city, our city, Tracy, and our neighboring city, the Mountain House, we all share one hospital, which is by Sutter. And if something the way these towns are growing at the rapid pace, there's a huge need for another hospital. So can you share some of your thoughts or vision for this county to cover Mountain House and Tracy areas, so those residents don't need to go all the way to Modesto or to Stockton to get those health services?
No, and you know what? You're absolutely right. You know, before I came on council, you know, Sutter Hospital was going to move over there off of Lammer's Road. So the infrastructure was built out there, and then they ended up not building out there for a variety of reasons. And you know, I didn't think that was right then. I don't think it's right now. Mostly when the city has invested so much time and effort, and you know, we need a bigger hospital here in Tracy. If you look at where Sutter Tracy is right now, it's landlocked. Right, it can't grow too much without taking over assisting or additional neighborhoods. So what you need to do is you need to expand, and they have the land to do it. We have the infrastructure out there for them to do it. So no, we know we need, and we have talked to Sutter and reiterated our concerns, and you know what, and we need to push harder. I've also talked to other hospitals. You know, if Sutter's not going to expand here, or even if they do expand, we still have room for other hospitals. I know I've talked to Kaiser in the last couple of years, and I've tormented them, you could say. I bugged them for no end to, you know, for them to build a Kaiser here in Tracy. I know we have a small little Kaiser place here now, but I would like to see a bigger Kaiser or see it expand here more, because hey, our employees are go to Kaiser. So that's something that I have talked to Kaiser about. But also, I mean, the county hospital, we have a county hospital just up the road, and what we can do with that is, you know, one of the goals is to increase it from a trauma level 3 to a level 2. And I understand right now it has passed inspection and qualifying time. We met the criteria. So for me, I would love to get in there as a supervisor and get it across the finish line. And also look at regional partnerships. And this could be something here for South County. You know, looking at UC Davis, Stanford, you know, UCSF, and maximize sustainable services in every capacity we currently have and more. And make sure our population, you know, receives top-rated care, especially our low-income folks. And so you have to be actively engaged. And could you imagine if, or wouldn't it be nice if we could be an extension of UC Davis? I mean, can you imagine how great of a public service that would be, how it would serve our public? But also one thing that we can do is, you know, is looking at building urgent care facilities. You know, a lot of those are cheaper and faster than going to ER. And, you know, maintaining that safety net, which is so important, you know, for those services most in need. You know, the health plan of San Joaquin and the Affordable Care Act has done or been a huge boost for people in this area. So it's something that I have actively involved in. It's something that I have educated myself on, and I have, you know, worked with the supervisors, current supervisors, to push forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Rickman. I want to actually ask Gulbir that if he wants to have any follow-up or any additional question on this topic. Mr. Gulbir, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself if you are trying to speak.
Yes, Mayor, you know, you are absolutely right. We need maybe more hospitals here because population is growing from, I'm here in Tracy from almost 2 decades, more than moved here 1999. And hospitals, go to hospital, either you have to go to Manteca, Modesto, or Stockton. So I don't know whose jurisdiction is this to bring the new hospital here. Is the local mayor, county supervisor, congressman, or who will push for this one? And we can be all with you to support you to bring those things. I know you cannot do by yourself. And if we need to, City of Tracy citizens together bring the petition to either Sacramento or wherever we need to. If you can suggest on these things, so we can all together push for this one. We don't say only one person can do all those things. We want to do all together.
No, you're
So
absolutely right. It takes a team, and and that's why it's important to be, work with your county supervisor, work with your congressmen, your senators, and of course the city as itself, and even other cities. I mean, we're talking about South County, and that'll benefit, of course, Mountain House. That'll benefit River Island. It'll benefit Manteca. It'll benefit city of Livermore. So it's something that would be a partnership, and it's something that we should all pursue. And we're, like you said, work as a team. We can all get involved in some way, and apply pressure and apply incentives to get these types of businesses here that we want to be here. In this case, a hospital. And I mean, hey, of course, healthcare is very important, but look at the employment wise, and look what a hospital could do for employment in this region.
thank you, Mayor.
And I have
Thank you.
something to add on to that, to ask a follow-up question. So, like Mr. Kulbira, Mr. Randava asked, right, that it's not a one man's job, or it's not one elected official's job. It's going to take everybody's efforts together. So, I would actually like to know, what, as a resident of Tracy, as a resident of San Joaquin County, what can the residents do in order to push for these? Can you kind of direct or provide us some guidance on that?
Contact your elected officials. I mean, I've heard it from our residents, our council, talking about a council meeting, but our county supervisors, our elected representatives in Congress, make your voices heard, and, call them and keep bugging them about it. When you see them, the congressman comes down, or a congressman or elected official comes down, and most of the time like this of election year, they want to shake everybody's hand. But let me know, you want to shake my hand. Okay, great. But this is what I want to see from you. And so make your voices heard. And, the things that get changed is because a lot of the time of public outcry, public getting involved. I mean, I can speak about our EMS agency, in which, for example, our fire department, when our county forbid us from responding to medical emergencies. And, it's the same team effort. We worked, it wasn't for the residents of Tracy, we might not have been successful. So resident voices are powerful. Use them.
Thank you, Rickman. And Mr. Manjeet, do you wanted to say something?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Rickman. So we appreciate your leadership.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I think we're still having a technical difficulty on your end.
I got you.
Thank you, Mayor Rickman.
No, I don't hear you again.
All right, it's okay. Thank you, Mayor Rickman, for your leadership to our city and our community. So you outline all the details about transportation, safety, and which is very good, wonderful to our people get to know. So my question.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear it? I can't hear anything.
We can hear Manjeet, but I think that there's some issue that Mr. Mayor cannot hear your voice, Mr. Manjeet. I can transfer your question. I think your question is regarding homelessness, correct?
Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. So,
I will do your job and apologize. He can't hear you for right now. So I'll take it over for right now. So, Mr. Mayor, me and Manjeet was speaking before getting on this platform. So he's very concerned about the homelessness issue that our city, our county, and overall, it's just not our city or county, it's overall nationwide issue. So he would like to know your approach and kind of give your vision on that part.
Okay, thank you. And this is, it'll be a very long answer, and because there's a lot of moving parts with homelessness, and there is no doubt, homelessness here in California has gotten worse. I mean, just look in San Joaquin County over the last few years, it has gotten worse. And one of the problems is, the Housing First homeless plan, the Housing First plan in San Joaquin County has failed, and yet we still have other cities adopting the same plan. I mean, the homeless problem has, like I said, increased in every city. I know in some cities, it has increased over 200% while this program is going on. And this is after the county has received tens of millions of dollars in funding for this program. And yet here we are, throwing money at the problem that hasn't worked. It hasn't worked anywhere. We talk about like the Housing First program. Let me give you some statistics here that just came out, and I just read about the city of Los Angeles. An audit by the city controls recently discovered that homeless housing was costing, are you ready for this? $740,000 per unit to build. Another news publication in Sacramento reported that homeless housing was costing the city approximately $460,000 per unit. And we can't wait for legislators in Sacramento to fix the problem. The fact is, we need a new targeted, deliberative approach to reversing those homeless numbers locally and putting them on the decline. That requires not only viewing the issue as one of housing. That's one component of it, of the overall issue. However, people are experiencing homelessness for a variety of reasons, including substance abuse problems, addiction, those with serious mental health issues, and a lack of available resources. As you guys know my background as a law enforcement officer, for over 20 years, and I see this, every week. I deal with it on a first-hand basis. So, what can we do differently to help the homeless and put it on the decline? Well, one is couldn't hear you. One of the things that we could do and we need to do is provide substance abuse treatment for those who need it and are willing to accept it. If you didn't know, San Joaquin County doesn't have a long-term substance abuse program. And that's something that needs to change and something that we need to add. And we need to start connecting people to, their support networks, their family, get them home and, to people that love them and the people that can help them out. Expand the availability of public, private, and faith-based mental health services. I just recently, visited the Ramus House in Antigua, which provides shelter for single mothers with children, part of Hope Ministries. And they do an excellent job, and they have, a high success rate. Very little money is spent on mental health treatment. Can you imagine if just a small portion of the money that's being spent on consulting and spent on overregulation would be spent on mental health treatment? How many more people would be off the streets today? So that's something that needs to be expanded. And also, you talk about the housing, reduce the skyrocketing cost of housing and increase its availability. So that means reforming outdated laws like the California Environmental Quality Act, which can add years on development of homes, and continue to evaluate and develop a review process and make it more efficient and make it easier and less costly to produce housing. Many of the multiple fees charged by the county and the state agencies don't take into account or differentiate between building above market homes to homes that are more affordable. And, and that, again, that's something that, is in the control of the county, and it's something we can work on. And also look at, talk to our state officials and get back to, or ask them to bring back redevelopment funds. That was a huge benefit to our cities. You look at some of the projects that have been built. Let's look at, for example, in Manteca, the Cottage Village Senior Apartments. It's something that I visited. And they used approximately $3 million of these redevelopment fees, partnered with HUD and with tax credits and so on, and for 48 units of affordable housing for our seniors. For us here in Tracy, we use approximately $4 million in development fees or funds in partnership with the Housing Authority to replace some obsolete public housing that we had here in Tracy. There was, I believe, 60 new multifamily units and 20 new larger family units. So you see with those redevelopment fees that we were once getting, how beneficial it is to our cities that we can start solving and helping with this problem. Also building additional emergency shelters and transitional housing. You know, if you are going to build housing like that, you need wraparound services. Things, you know, for example, substance abuse and mental health, so people can get the help that they need if they need that help. And also, while you're doing that, provide vocational and job training to these folks and help them get back on their feet. You know, and then, you know, once you get through the transitional, you get a job, then you can start looking at the permanent housing, and also enforcement of quality of life laws. And, you know, one of the things that when our new police chief came here to Tracy, I met him down at City Hall the very first day. I believe it was 8 a.m. or 8:30, and I took him down to Pescadero Park, and then I took him to I believe the old Lambert School over by the apartments, and showed him, you know, the homeless camps there, and told him, you know, how unacceptable that was. Because what you're seeing there, and I'll just jump back to Pescadero Park, is what you're seeing there, what you were seeing there, and our PD has done a great job dealing with it, is drug use and sales. That's a fact. You know, you were seeing theft. We were having kids that wanted to go use the skate park being extorted. Hey, you want to use our skate park, or you want to use the skating? Give me $20. And fights and so on. Now, Raj, you have a new child. When he's old enough, would you take him to an environment like that? No parent in the right mind would. You know, and I mean, so it's something that needs, you know, you need law enforcement and things, you know, on things like that. And, you know, we talked about earlier about AB 109, AB 47, and, you know, with drug use. And, you know, at one time, say if you had, I caught you, or if you had heroin or methamphetamines on you, what would happen? You would be taken to jail. Not as a punishment per se, but in order to get help. I mean, what would usually happen? You would get what's called diversion. So you would be arrested, you would go before a judge, and the DA would be on board, and they would make you go get treatment. So what's happening now, and this is throughout the state, and if you look, you know, 5 years ago, approximately 5 years ago when it started, and now you can see the correlation. You know, now say somebody has methamphetamines or heroin on them, say, for example, I'm just using those two drugs. And what you do, you take it from them, you write them a citation, and they go on their way. No help is given. You know, and sometimes you have to force people to get the help that they need. And so we, even with this new law, we have to work with the district attorney's office, and we have to work with the courts to get, you know, diversion program to get people off substance abuse, and also increase sanitation services. Yeah, it does cost money to do that, but what would you rather have? You rather have a park full of needles and trash, or you want a clean park? One thing that I did do, and that I started here in Tracy, and I started when I was on Council of Governance, I contacted Dan, who was the district director of District 10 Caltrans, and we had a meeting with myself, our police chief, and our city manager and attorney, I believe. And what we're doing, we're getting a memorandum of direction or understanding together that, so when we have places like you saw on the back of those apartments off of by Grant Line Road that's just recently cleaned up, and that's been an effort that I participated for in over a year to get that to happen, you know, working with the state also on the law enforcement side. But it's this, it takes the state so long to do anything. So what we were trying to do, and this is the same thing we're working with the Union Pacific Railroad, is, hey, we'll clean up your property. We'll clean up that mess. You can reimburse us. So it's done at a faster pace. So, because one of the complaints that we get is, you know, of trash and so on, and that is one way they're thinking outside of the box, being proactive, working with our state and federal agencies, and getting something accomplished. And, you know, that's a prime example of that. So that's something that, you know, we're working on right now. And also, you know, we jump back to the tax sharing agreement, you know, the 80-20 split and how horrible that is. You know, if the cities are going to be required to start providing mental health and treatment and substance abuse, because that chunk of change, that 80% of our property tax goes to the county, and the county uses that for the resources like substance abuse, mental health treatment, right? But unfortunately, Those are all in other cities, that are county seat, which is Stockton. So if we're going to start getting into that avenue and providing our treatment, and this is not just City of Tracy, but other cities, then we have to have a higher tax return than that 20%. If we can get higher, we can offer more mental health, we can offer more substance abuse program, and we can do it here locally. So it's a huge battle, and it's a battle that I've been fighting. It's a battle, and I guarantee you, when I get up there in county supervisor, things will change. This 80-20 split is archaic, and it's detrimental to our cities, and it's something that we can use to help our homeless individuals and our families. I told you it was going to be long.
No, this is fine. Manjit, you're still on mute. You can try unmuting yourself, and let's see if Mr. Mayor Rickman can hear you or not.
Thank you, Mayor. You outlined.
I still can't hear you.
He can't hear you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. We will put Manjit and Mayor Rickman on the line after the show to go over that discussion. I'm so sorry.
I can hear everybody. Okay, I can't hear Manjit for some reason.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
He's not gonna allow me in Dalba anymore.
So back to your topic, Mayor Rickman. Like you said, you asked me a question: would I like to have my kid, or even though anybody, I don't think so, nobody would like to see the that kind of negative environment, and they would want their kids to be there. So I agree on that part. What I'm taking away from your point is that what you're suggesting, the city does not have sufficient budget in order to provide those services because of the 80-20 percentage that you talked about. So we need to have a more money in order to provide those services in order to move forward in that direction to tackle the homelessness issue. Am I correct?
That's correct. And like I said, you have the underlying cause. You have to tackle substance abuse and mental health. If you want to solve this crisis, you have to hit that.
Right. So I appreciate you sharing your vision and your thoughts and highlighting on this topic. And we're very thankful. And I'm speaking on Manjit's behalf as well. It's one of his biggest concerns. He always raises his voice on this issue, and I'm glad he's happy to hear your answer on this part as well. So now moving forward, I know we kept you for 20 minutes extra, and we're hitting our 50 minutes and last 10 minutes. I promise after that, so we will let you go. The last two things that coming in mind is creating jobs and education. So when we're talking about creating jobs and education, they're kind of going hand in hand parallelly. So a lot of folks, they're making this their hometown, but they're going to work over the Altamont Pass. And when you talk about creating new jobs in a Bay Area side, there's the IT hub. So when you talk to those startup companies, they're like, yeah, we wanted to come and open our facilities, but you don't have a sustainable workforce in pipeline. So they're not coming here. And along with that, the other part is our house pricing, home affordabilities keep growing up. So what it means for anybody who's working in Bay, they can afford $600,000, $700,000 house here. But anybody who's living in City of Tracy and making their money here, I don't think so they can afford that. So what's your vision? What's your thoughts on that on these overall areas? I know I added 3 things together. Just trying to shorten up in a couple of minutes instead of going another 30 minutes on that.
No, that's a lot of moving parts. That's one in that question. So I'll try to answer it as best as I can. Hey, and I agree with you in the fact that having daughters of my own and having kids, and I would love for them to come home, buy a home in Tracy, raise a family in Tracy. I mean, my daughter's the 4th generation of my family that have lived here in the city. So of course I would want them to see here and experience this wonderful town like they have when they're kids. But you want to bring jobs, Tracy. Let's tackle that one first. You have to invest in education. And you mentioned that. The world's becoming increasingly complex, and success is driven not only by what you know, but by what you can do with what that knowledge. And one of the things that I've been a part of with the Tracy Unified School District. It was one of the pilot programs and one of the few cities that have received it, or school districts, I should say, is our STEM program. And that's STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, and learning opportunities, and exposing kids or students to those, K through 12 students to those types of jobs. And what we're doing, we're partnering with businesses here throughout the community and getting kids internships and getting kids knowledge of, STEM related job access, and also improving access to higher education as another one. I know personally, I went out to Humphreys College in Stockton and brought him here to Tracy. I mean, that's where I received my law degree, and it's a great school. And, using like satellite campuses, and both public and private. We have a satellite for Stanislaus. We have Delta just in Mountain House, and Delta is a great school. I mean, hey, I went there, and look at me now, right? But it also, what we need to do, and you talk about jobs, is expanding businesses that are already here, and we've done a good job with that. I mean, Amazon, a prime example, and we should be making another announcement here, hopefully in the next few months, about some huge business. You're on mute. I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Manjeet, can you mute yourself, please? It's creating a lot of disturbance still here, Mayor Rickman. Sorry, go ahead,
Okay.
Mayor, please.
But no, like I said, expanding businesses that are already here, creating a long-term vision, and being proactive and aggressive. That's something that I'm proud of. When I first became mayor, I came up with a 5-point plan, and it had 100 days to do certain activities. And we created over 5,000 jobs. We brought in several Fortune 500 companies. We went farther than any other council in history of Tracy. I mean, you look at the proactive approach that we've taken, for example, investing in infrastructure, dark fiber and fiber optics and conduits, placing those in business parks. So when these businesses are ready to get here, this stuff is ready. It's another way for them to be enticed to come to our city. Working with like a workforce study to identify businesses and type of businesses that our residents are commuting to. If you're commuting to certain companies in the Bay Area, that's something that we need to know so we can target that type of business and bring it here in Tracy and San Joaquin County, working with venture capitalists. I mean, a prime example is Skyrise. It's something that we brought here to Tracy by working with venture capitalists. So that's just examples of, thinking outside the box and, being proactive, being aggressive. Because if you're not, somebody else is going to do it. I mean, and you look at the last, when I'm mayor, I mean, our revenue has increased. This is all, of course, pre-COVID. Our revenue, our property tax and sales tax revenue increased. Our unemployment went down. So, creating jobs and bringing business. So we did a great job on that. And getting back to basic customer service and treating people with respect, streamlining the permit process, and reducing that bureaucratic red tape. Another thing I firmly believe in too is reducing fees or being competitive in fees, because the lower the fees or taxes, the more it will help small businesses and entrepreneurs. It will allow them the capital to invest, spend, and grow their businesses. When we talk about businesses, we're all talking, everybody talks about, the Amazon, the FedEx, the Googles and stuff. But, the backbone of not just our economy, but this nation's economy is small businesses. And we got to make sure these small businesses are thriving. And that's one reason, for me, when the governor had his order to shut down indoor dining, I went down to our city hall. I talked to our city manager, and I took the lead to make sure we closed a portion of our 10th Street so we can allow the restaurants to come in to expand. And we were the first cities to do that. It's, again, thinking outside the box, taking care of our small businesses, investing in our infrastructure that I touched on before, improving our roadways. If we're going to build some massive development, we better make sure we have the infrastructure in place to move those people and move those vehicles. Expanding, and I mentioned before, expanding the Port of Stockton and the airport, Valley Link, Ace Train, and being a member of the San Joaquin, or the past member of San Joaquin Partnership, I worked with the county to bring businesses not just to Tracy but to the county as a whole. And that's just two different portion. Let me touch on, agriculture real quick. I'll try to hurry this up. I know we're going long, but
the
again,
time is yours. We're not in a
you know,
rush. We're mindful of your time.
all right, all right. But when I think of jobs and development stuff, I get pretty excited because there's so much that we can do and so much we have done. For example, like our airport, United and Legion Air we have now expanding with Amazon, and that needs to be finalized. The long-term contract for cargo, enhancing the service, expanding air travel. Try to Stockton to national hubs. And right now we're having I believe it's Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Arizona. So it's something that we can expand. But I know you guys were going to touch on this. I don't know if you still are, but I'll mention a portion of it now. When we talk about jobs, we can't talk about jobs in San Joaquin County without talking about agriculture. Agriculture is the heart and soul of this valley. 1 out of every 3 jobs come directly from the valley. Hey, we have the best soil and water, right? And one thing that we need to work on and we need to make sure that we stay on top of is water storage. And you can't grow the economy without water, be it development or agriculture. I mean, think about this. 48 million acre feet go to the ocean. All right. We need to build reservoirs. For example, you look at the proposed Del Porto Canyon Reservoir project, which is a private project. That's a project. Raise the dams. For example, Shasta is something that we could do. I mean, you can look at the hydroelectric power that we could use to fuel our economy, and of course, opposing the twin tunnels or the single tunnel because that doesn't add any water. And look in the agribusiness side of it. When people look at agriculture, they see, say, for example, here, almond trees, because we have almond trees all around us, or tomatoes. But what they don't see is the other side of it is, the truck drivers, the agribusiness side of it, the packing sheds, and all the different parts of the economy that agriculture produces. And for me, my daughters were in FFA, and I'm very close to FFA, Future Farmers of America, and to make, I fundraise for them. I did anything I can help because it's so important. You talk about creating jobs, and where do these students learn these types of businesses? In high school. And on the education side, we have to do better time with education, and we need to do more. But we all have to realize not every student, high school kid, wants to go to college. We have to start looking at vocational education and trade schools. Those are great jobs. Those are sustainable jobs. I know I spoke with Delta College trying to get more vocational education through them. And that's something that we could, do as a county also. But even career pathways, starting career pathways, not just in high school, but through college itself. If, you want to be an engineer, for example, there needs to be a pathway for that. That should start in high school so you know where you're going and you can keep up with the studying and you can keep up with that passion. And also partner with the San Joaquin County Department of Education, apprenticeship program, One thing that I've tried to do as mayor and as council is to get apprenticeship or get kids coming or students working at City Hall and the different aspects that we have. If you're interested in engineering, we have a whole entire planning department. So getting our students involved and more exposed, again, career pathways, grooming our workforce. And again, like I said before, trying to get in more a university here to Tracy. And the thing that was frustrating to me, when that university was proposed, what do you think is the first place they thought of?
Stockton.
What's it? Exactly. I don't know about you, but I get tired of that. And one of the reasons I'm running for supervisor is San Joaquin County or South County is always second. And it drives me insane. It was like that when I was a kid. Stockton gets all the resources, Stockton gets the funds, then you look at South County and we get what's left over. And that needs to change. I mean, you look at what's driving this economy in San Joaquin County, it's South County. We're the one that providing the tax revenue. We're providing businesses. We're providing the jobs. Yet when something comes, it automatically goes to Stockton first. It's just not fair, and it needs to change. I mean, Stockton, hey, is a great community. I like Stockton. I mean, hey, I went to Delta there. I went to Humphreys College. But South County needs to be taken care of too. They have University of Pacific. So why would you put another school in Stockton when you could put here in South County? Our population is growing rapidly. And one of the fastest growing cities in the state is Lathrop, River Island. Imagine what that's going to be in 10 years. But, of course, we're told that, we don't have the population density for it, or, promote the population density. But that's something that will change, and it's something that is changing now. So even though we can't get it right now, or wouldn't get it right now, it's something that we got to still push and keep in the minds of our legislators and our governor.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Rickman. I think we're almost at the end of our show. We covered all the topics. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I have to keep saying this because we did have 2 extra 20 minutes to get the show going. So thank you so much. And at the end, I just want to make sure that you deliver your message to all your voters and residents. If we miss anything, this is the time you can address that. And if you don't, but still give your probably like elevation speech for 1 minute, that how you would like your voters to remember you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. And it's not just my time. Your time is just as important as mine. So thank you all very much for having me. I enjoyed it. We covered a lot of topics. But, my goal, and the reason I'm running for San Joaquin County Supervisor, is to make San Joaquin County a safer, more desirable place to live, work, and raise our families. And I'm more optimistic about our future for San Joaquin County than ever been before. We must have that long-term vision and look in the future, and or keep our blinders on and stay stuck in the past. But there are problems that need to be addressed. Public safety. Nobody knows more about public safety, that's running than I do. I mean, that's my job, and it's something I've been doing for 24 years. So I know things that other people don't because I'm out there. Homelessness. I'm the only one that has been talking about substance abuse and mental health. I mean, if we're going to solve this crisis, it needs a change. It can't just be a housing first. I mean, it's one element of it, but we have to tackle the whole thing. I mean, I've worked on reducing commute times and traffic congestion. I fought for widening our roadways and bringing grant funding. And, our cost of living continues to increase. We have to rein in unelected bureaucrats, who pass policy and regulations and don't answer to the public. We need to reform outdated laws like CEQA, and that add thousands of dollars to our mortgages and our rents, and also rein in, LAFCO, which is a Land Agency Formation Commission. And at the end, we must remember that we cannot tax our way into prosperity. I have the experience where it counts, right here in San Joaquin County. A lot of people talk about their experience. Look at the accomplishments. Look what I have accomplished in my time in the last 4 years as mayor. There has been no council who has done what we have done, because it's about the passion that you have for your city and your county. I'm proud of my record, but I'm not done yet. I don't seek the position of supervisor to do small things. I seek the position of supervisor to finish a job. So we're at a pivotal point right now. And on November 3rd, you'll determine what type of city and county your kids and grandkids will inherit. So thank you guys very much. I had a great time. It's always great seeing you guys, and hopefully I'll see you out there. And of course, to the viewers, if you ever need to get a hold of me, I mean, most of you guys have my phone number. If not, you can always, contact me through Facebook or through my website.
So thank you so much, Mayor Rickman. That's the second part I was going to say, and you covered it well. And we really appreciate your time and energy and sharing your thoughts and vision about a county and city. Again, thanks again. And I would like Kulveer to say any last minute words to Mayor Rickman. And we're not going to ask Manjeet to say anything because Manjeet's voice is not coming out. So we will say on his behalf.
All we have to say is that congratulations, and go Mayor Rickman for county supervisor, and we will be joining the party with you soon on November 3rd. So thank you very much for being with us, and thank you, Raj, for bringing us over here on this platform to ask the question to the mayor or elected officials. So for the public, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank
And I
you.
would like to say thank you to Manjeet, who coordinated all this with Mayor Rickman. And thank you all also to our co-host, Gurtej, who's not here. But thank you so much. And again, everybody have a wonderful weekend. Happy Saturday.
you.
And one more day to enjoy on Sunday. So thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
All right, take care.
Good luck. Thank you.